This is Captain Ross from 3B's Captain School, and this video is on latitude and longitude. Right, navigation, the art and science of directing the movements of a vessel safely, confidently, and efficiently from one location to another. This video, we're going to discuss latitude and longitude. So what we want to do is define latitude and longitude, state how latitude and longitude are used in navigation, state how latitude and longitude are expressed. We also want to state how to convert from degrees, minutes, seconds to degrees, minutes, tenths, and vice versa. All right, to determine location, a system of reference lines or a grid is placed on the surface of the Earth. These grid lines are known as latitude or parallels and move from the equator to the north or south, and lines of longitude or meridians, which cut through the Earth's axis and its poles. So, lines of latitude, pointing out a couple here, and I'll use my cursor. Lines of latitude are drawn across the Earth's surface horizontally. When we measure them, we start with the equator, which is 0 degrees latitude, and then we move north for 90 degrees or south for 90 degrees. So anything north of the equator is going to have a degree. So let's say 10 degrees north. And if it's south of the equator, it's going to be 10 degrees south. So I've got this line on the Earth's surface. And if I told you I was on the equator, you would get an idea of where I was. Pretty good idea, north to south. But east to west, you'd have no idea where I was. So we need an intersecting line to kind of pinpoint our position. So I'm somewhere on the equator on this line here. So we use longitude lines, which run through the north and south pole as an intersecting line. So if I was on the equator, I'm at latitude 0, and then let's say this longitude line my cursor's on right here is 75. So my position would be 0 degrees latitude and 75 degrees west. So if you took those two lines and traced where they met, that's the position I'm at. That's how we use latitude and longitude to affix our position. So let's talk about these latitude lines for a minute. So latitude lines start at the equator, as we discussed. They go north for 90 degrees, starting at the equator again. They go south for 90 degrees. Every degree is equal to 60 nautical miles. So 1 degree is equal to 60 nautical miles. Here on this diagram my cursor's at, you can see there's 10 degrees. So this line right here is 600 nautical miles north of the equator. If you look south, this 10 degree line, this whole line here, anywhere I'm at on it, is exactly 600 nautical miles south of the equator. All right, so let's take an example. We'll break down how we would express our location and latitude. In this example, we're in Emerald Isle, North Carolina, and this latitude is expressed in degrees, minutes, and seconds. The 34 means we're 2,040 nautical miles north of the equator. The 39 minutes means we add an additional 39 nautical miles. So when we're talking about latitude, every minute of latitude equals 1 nautical mile. Every 60 nautical miles or minutes, because they're equal, of latitude equals 1 degree. So we add that 39 miles to our 2,040 and we get 2,079. And then the 3 seconds here adds up to an additional 100 yards, and it's going to make our position 2,079 nautical miles and 100 yards north of the equator. So that's how we're going to use this latitude line. So remember, if I told you I was at position 34 degrees, 39 minutes, 3 seconds north, I'm somewhere on that line. So I'm going to use a longitude line to cross and make an intersection of the two lines to better pinpoint my position. So let's look at longitude. There's about where we're at for Emerald Isle. So let's look at these longitude lines. So They run through the poles and they're measured east, correct, that's west, east to west. The 000, or the first longitude line, we refer to as the prime meridian. It goes through Greenwich, England. And then Emerald Isle, we'll use that same example. Our longitude is 77 degrees, 4 minutes, 37 seconds west. So if you take Greenwich, England down here, if you look at this diagram my cursor's at, I'm going to go west 77 degrees. It put me about right here. So if I went the opposite way, if I went east from Greenwich, England, I'm going to count up east longitude all the way until I get to the 180 degree mark, which is the opposite side of that same longitude line on the Earth, and that's where the international date line is. So starting in Greenwich, England, Emerald Isle is 77 degrees west. So if you look at this diagram, one other note, when we showed latitude, we talked about how they were parallel. So they're at the equal distance no matter where you're at on the Earth, from 1 degree of latitude to the next, either north or south. It's exactly 60 nautical miles because they're parallel. Longitude lines are not parallel. They meet basically and go through the poles. So you can't use them to measure distance because as you get north or south from the equator, they get closer together and their distance isn't consistent. All right, so now let's quickly talk about two different common ways you'll see latitude and longitude expressed. The chart we use for training in our courses is the Chesapeake Bay training chart, and it's laid out in tenths. Some smaller strip charts that you may use on your own vessel, they may be laid out in seconds. So we just want to go over real quick how we're going to convert from one to the other if we need to. So we'll take this example here, 35 degrees 12.24 minutes north, 74 degrees 14.6 minutes west. So this is expressed in degrees, minutes, and tenths. And we can convert that to a degrees, minutes, and second position simply by multiplying the decimal minute, 0.24, by 60 for latitude, and the 0.6 on the longitude, which is 6/10 of a minute, by 60 to get our longitude in seconds. So 0.24 times 60 for the latitude equals 14.4. So that's 14.4 seconds. The 0.6 times 60 in the longitude equals an even 36 seconds. So the way we'd express this is 35 degrees, 12 minutes, 14 seconds north, 74 degrees, 14 minutes, 36 seconds west. So 35 degrees, 12 minutes, 14 seconds north, 74 degrees, 14 minutes, 36 seconds west is the same as 35 degrees, 12.24 minutes north, 74 degrees, 14.6 minutes west. Let's go over how to plot latitude and longitude on a nautical chart. So in this example, we have the latitude and longitude here, 36 degrees, 52.2 minutes north, 75 degrees, 37.7 minutes west. So let's go to the latitude side. You can see right here it's a 3650 line. Just above it, I'm going to mark it here. It's 3651, 3652, and then we're going to go to these dashes here because these are tenths of a minute. So there's 0.1, 0.2. So that point right there represents 36 degrees, 52.2 minutes north. Let's take our dividers and capture that measurement. Now we're going to move our dividers over to the longitude line closest to our longitude. We're going to make a mark on the chart. And now from that same line, I'm going to grab my longitude measurement. So it's 75 37.5, 0.6, 0.7. So right there I've got 75 degrees, 37.7. I make a mark on my latitude line. Now you notice how I put the point where I cross that latitude line on the longitude line there. It helps keep your divider square. Now I'm going to recapture that measurement for the latitude again. I'm going to put the pointy end of my dividers where I crossed that little small pencil line over the latitude line to get that measurement accurate. And now I have a nice X there in the middle, and I put a triangle demonstrating electronic fix. Alright, so now what if we had a point and we wanted to find the latitude and longitude? So I'm going to make this little mark just randomly here in the chart. Now we're going to measure from a latitude line. The closest one we have there is 3650. Get the lead right on that point. Come over to my latitude scale. I'm making a mark there. Now I can put my dividers down and add this up. So I've got 53 here. We're going to count the tenths. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tenths. So that latitude is going to be 36 degrees, 53.8 minutes north. All right, now let's do the longitude. Try to square up here with my dividers. I'm on a longitude line. I got the point on the longitude line. I put the lead right on the vertical part of that X. I make a mark down on my longitude scale. 75, 30, 31, 32. Counting the tenths, there's 32.3 to the mark that I made. 75 degrees, 32.3 minutes west. And that's how we measure latitude and longitude on our chart. This is Captain Ross, 3B's Captain School, and that concludes our video on latitude and longitude. Please check out our other videos on YouTube.